So my mom slapped me in front of a realtor last Thursday, in my own living room, then told me she wished she'd swallowed me. And honestly, I've been waiting 3 years for this exact moment. Let me back up. I'm 31, my brother Trevor is 34. Our whole lives, Trevor was the golden child. Not because he was smarter or worked harder, but because he gave my parents grandchildren, Jenna and Zachary, ages 7 and 5. The moment those kids were born, I became invisible. Every family dinner was about Trevor's family. Every holiday centered around what Trevor's kids want. When I graduated with honors, my dad spent the whole dinner talking about Zachary's t-ball game. When I bought my first house at 28, using money I'd saved since I was 19, my mom asked if I was going to let Trevor and his family use it for vacation. 9 years. 9 years of saving every penny, working yourself to the bone, finally getting the keys to your own place, and your mom's first thought is, "Oh, cute, a timeshare for Trevor." Like you didn't just accomplish something massive. Like you're not even a person with your own life. You're just overflow storage for the favorite child. And graduation dinner where dad's talking about t-ball? T-ball is not even a sport. It's organized chaos with snacks. Your kid graduated with honors, and you're out here discussing whether Zachary made contact with the ball this week? The disrespect is architectural at this point. The house. That's the whole thing. I bought a 3-bedroom place in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but mine. I worked overnight shifts at a warehouse for 4 years while finishing my degree, then got into supply chain management. I saved like a crazy person because I knew my family would never help me with anything. Trevor, meanwhile, bounced between jobs. Not because he couldn't find work, but because he always had some excuse. The boss was unfair. The hours were bad. The commute was too long. My parents covered his rent for years. When he got married to Natalie, they helped with the wedding. When Natalie got pregnant, they helped with the baby stuff. When Trevor lost his job the 3rd time, they helped with the bills. This is what kills me about golden children. They get infinite respawns. Trevor's out here playing life on easy mode with cheat codes enabled. Oh, the commute was too long. Brother, the commute is too long for everyone. That's why it's called a commute and not a pleasant stroll. Meanwhile, OP is doing overnight warehouse shifts while getting a degree. Do you understand the level of tired that is? That's not even human tired anymore. That's zombie with ambition tired. And the parents just keep feeding coins into Trevor's arcade machine like, maybe this time he'll beat the first level. 3 years ago, my dad sat me down and asked if I'd consider letting Trevor and his family move into my house temporarily while they got back on their feet. I said no. Not rudely, just no. This is my home. I worked for this. My dad didn't yell or anything. He just looked at me and said that he was disappointed, that family helps family, and that I'd always been selfish even as a kid. That was the moment I knew exactly who I was to them. Family helps family is crazy when it only flows one direction. Like there's a whole river of help going to Trevor, but somehow OP asking for basic respect is being selfish? And calling them selfish even as a kid? Nah, that's not an observation. That's a rewrite. That's dad pulling out some revisionist history to justify why it's okay to treat one kid like a resource and the other like a miracle. That quiet disappointment is almost worse than yelling, honestly. Because yelling, you can fight. That disappointed dad's silence, that just sits in your chest and rots. I spent the next 3 years building, got promoted twice, paid off my car, built up savings. And I started documenting every conversation with my family. Every text where my mom complained I never visited while simultaneously never inviting me to things. Every comment about how Trevor needed help and I was doing fine, so why couldn't I share? 3 years of receipts. This person built a legal case against their own family like it was a side hustle, while getting promoted twice, while paying off a car. We are dealing with someone who operates on a different frequency. Most people would have just gone to therapy and vented. This person said, no, I'm going to build an archive of betrayal and wait for the perfect moment. That's not pettiness. That's patience. That's revenge served so cold it's got freezer burn. 2 weeks ago, Trevor lost another job. This time, his landlord gave them 30 days to leave. And that's when my parents decided my house wasn't really mine. My mom showed up last Thursday with a realtor named Deborah and a stack of papers. A deed transfer form. She'd already filled in the blanks. She told me this was happening, that Trevor needed the house, that I was single with no kids and didn't need 3 bedrooms, and that I could rent an apartment somewhere. I need everyone to understand the audacity of showing up with pre-filled paperwork. That means mom sat down, got the forms, filled in the blanks, called a realtor, scheduled an appointment. This wasn't emotional, this was premeditated. She genuinely thought she could just walk in and repo her child's house. You're single with no kids. Oh, so your worth as a human being is measured by whether you've reproduced. Cool, cool, cool. So OP is basically just an NPC in the Trevor family simulation. And you could rent an apartment somewhere? Somewhere? Like just go exist in the general direction of away? I asked her if she was serious. She said I was being difficult, like always. That's when I noticed my garage door was open. I walked out there and found Trevor's furniture. His couch, his kids' beds, boxes everywhere. He'd already started moving in without even asking. They already started moving in! This wasn't a request. This wasn't even a demand. This was a heist. They treated OP's house like it was just temporarily being stored in OP's name until Trevor needed it. The entitlement required to move your furniture into someone's garage before they've agreed to anything. That's not family behavior. That's squatter behavior with a blood relation discount. And mom calling OP? Difficult, like always. While literally trying to steal their house? The projection is IMAX level. I went back inside and told my mom and Deborah to leave. My mom started screaming that I was destroying the family, that I'd always been jealous of Trevor, that I was punishing innocent children. Deborah looked like she wanted to disappear. I told my mom I wasn't signing anything and she needed to get out. That's when she slapped me, right across the face, and said she wished she'd swallowed me instead. Deborah grabbed her folder and practically ran out the door. Deborah did not sign up for this. Deborah was expecting a normal Tuesday, maybe some paperwork, a signature, commission check. Done. Instead, Deborah got front row seats to a full family implosion, complete with assault and the most disgusting thing a mother can say to her child. I wish I'd swallowed you. That's not anger. That's venom. That's something you can't unsay. That's something that lives in OP's head forever now. And she said it because OP wouldn't give away their house. The math isn't mathing. The love was never there, was it? It was always conditional. And the condition was, do what Trevor needs. I told my mom to leave or I was calling the police. She left. That was Thursday. On Friday morning, I drove past my dad's contracting business and saw something that made me laugh out loud. He'd changed the sign. It used to say, Jesse and Sons Contracting, but he'd covered up the S. Now it just said, Jesse and Son Contracting. He'd literally erased me from the business I was never even part of, like that was supposed to hurt me. This man really got on a ladder to remove a single letter from his business sign. That's not even effective punishment. That's performance art for an audience of one who doesn't care. OP was never part of the business. That's like unfriending someone on Facebook who never added you in the first place. Dad thought he was dropping an emotional nuke, but he actually just announced to the whole neighborhood, hey everyone, I only have one son now, the unemployed one. Here's what they don't know. 3 years of preparation means I know exactly what I'm going to do. And it starts with the one thing my family never expected me to have, leverage. Trevor's furniture is still in my garage. My parents think I'm going to cave. My dad thinks removing me from a sign I was never on matters. They have no idea what's coming. They have no idea what's coming. Chills. Actual chills. This is the moment in the movie where the music changes. They spent 31 years underestimating this person, and now they're about to find out exactly how much attention OP was paying while being ignored. You know that feeling when you're playing chess with someone, and you suddenly realize they've been setting up a trap for the last 15 moves? That's what's happening here. Except the chess pieces are legal documents and emotional receipts. Update 1. Okay, so a lot happened since Thursday. Buckle up because my family decided to go nuclear. Friday night, Trevor showed up at my door. Not my parents, Trevor himself. This was the conversation I've been waiting 3 years to have. He started with guilt. His kids were going to be homeless. Jenna had been crying about losing her room. Zachary didn't understand why Uncle wouldn't help. He kept saying, we're brothers, we're family, we're supposed to have each other's backs. I let him talk for 10 minutes without interrupting. Then I asked one question. Where was he when I was working overnight shifts for 4 years? Where was he when I was eating rice and beans to save for this house? Where was he when mom and dad paid his rent while I paid my own everything? OP let him cook for 10 minutes. Just let Trevor exhaust his entire guilt playbook. The crying kids, the brotherhood speech, the family obligation monologue, and then dropped one question that dismantled the whole thing. Because that's the thing about guilt trips, right? They only work if the other person actually owes you something. Trevor's out here acting like OP broke some sacred sibling bond when the bond was always just OP giving and Trevor taking. Rice and beans for years while Trevor got a safety net made of mommy and daddy's wallet. Where was the brotherhood then? Trevor said that was different, that he had kids, that I didn't understand the pressure of being a father. I told him I understood the pressure of being alone while my family treated me like I didn't exist unless they needed something. He tried another approach. Said he'd pay rent. Said he'd only need 6 months. I asked how he'd pay rent without a job. He said he'd find something. I reminded him he'd been saying that for 8 years. That's when he got angry. Said I was always keeping score, always holding grudges. Said mom was right about me being jealous. I told him I wasn't jealous of a 34-year-old man who couldn't keep a job and needed mommy and daddy to bail him out every time. Trevor slammed the door on his way out. "You're always keeping score," is what people say when the score isn't in their favor. Trevor wants amnesia. He wants a world where the past doesn't count and only his current emergency matters. But life doesn't work like that. You don't get to cash checks at a bank where you've never made a deposit. And the "you're just jealous" card? Jealous of what? Being 34 and unable to adult? Having to bring your kids into every negotiation because you have no other leverage? OP built something alone. Trevor can't even stand alone. Saturday morning, I documented everything in my garage with photos. Then I texted Trevor giving him 48 hours to remove his property or I'd dispose of it as abandoned goods. Completely legal in my state if you follow the right process, which I'd researched extensively. My phone exploded. Mom, Dad, Trevor, Natalie. 53 calls by Saturday night, which I'd researched extensively. Of course they did. OP probably has a binder, probably has color-coded tabs. This person didn't just get mad, they got certified. Meanwhile, the family phone tree activated like it's a national emergency. 53 calls. That's more than one call every 30 minutes. They really thought if they just called enough times, OP would crack. But you can't annoy someone into submission when they've been planning for 3 years. Sunday, my dad showed up. Sat in my driveway for 20 minutes before I came outside. He said this was getting out of hand, that family doesn't treat family this way, that I was being vindictive over a misunderstanding. I asked what misunderstanding. Was it when mom brought a realtor to steal my house? When Trevor moved furniture without permission? When mom slapped me and said she wished I was never born? My dad said I was twisting things. Said mom was emotional, that Trevor was desperate. I told him desperate people don't bring pre-filled deed transfer paperwork. That takes planning. Desperate people don't bring pre-filled paperwork. Put that on a t-shirt. That one sentence destroyed Dad's entire "it was just emotions" defense. Because you're right. Desperation is scrambling. Desperation is begging. Showing up with forms and a realtor is a business transaction. And Dad calling it a misunderstanding. Bro, where is the misunderstanding? The slap? The wish to have swallowed OP? The unauthorized garage occupation? What part is being misunderstood here? The only misunderstanding is how they ever thought OP would just roll over. Then I told him something I'd been saving. I knew about the loan. 3 years ago, I'd done digging. My dad co-signed Trevor's apartment lease and had been covering rent differences for years. A cousin who works at the property management company confirmed it. My dad asked how I knew. I told him it didn't matter. What mattered was he'd been propping up Trevor for years while calling me selfish. He'd been lying to everyone about Trevor being independent. He left without another word. The receipts keep coming! OP has been playing informational chess while everyone else was playing checkers. 3 years of quiet investigation, and now Dad's whole "Trevor is independent, you're just selfish" narrative is collapsing. He's been secretly funding Trevor while publicly shaming OP for not doing more. That's not favoritism, that's a cover-up. And Dad left without a word because what can you say? "Yes, I lied to everyone, including you, for years, but you're the problem?" The audacity required to even try that is beyond human. Monday. Trevor's 48 hours expired. I hired movers to transport everything to a storage unit rented under Trevor's name. I paid the first month, but the contract is his. After this month, he's responsible. Storage fees here aren't cheap. Calls hit 180 per day by Wednesday. Voicemails ranging from threats to crying. Mom said I was dead to her. Dad said I was destroying his business reputation. Here's the thing, I'm not done. My dad's business has been using my address for licensing purposes for 6 years. He set it up when expanding and needed a secondary location on paper. I just filed paperwork to remove that authorization. More coming. They haven't discovered the storage situation yet. Stop. Dad has been using OP's address for his business license this whole time? So let me understand. OP was good enough to use as a legal address for 6 years, but not good enough to be on the business sign? The disrespect is so layered. It's like a parfait of betrayal. And now OP just pulled that foundation out like a Jenga piece. This is what happens when you take someone for granted for decades. You forget all the ways they're actually holding your stuff together. Update 2, Day 6. Trevor found out about the storage unit. He showed up at my work, waited in the parking lot until my lunch break. I found him leaning against my car, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Started yelling before I reached him. Asked what kind of person puts their nephew's beds in storage. Asked if I enjoyed making children suffer. I told him those same beds were for my house, that he planned to take without asking. He said that was different. I asked how. He couldn't answer. He couldn't answer is doing so much work in this story. Every time someone accuses OP of something and gets asked to explain the logic, they just button, like a frozen loading screen. Because there is no logic. That was different is not an argument. It's a placeholder for an argument you don't have. And showing up at someone's job? That's escalation. That's, I've lost at home, so let me try to embarrass you professionally. Trevor really thought public pressure would work when private pressure failed. My guy, the problem isn't the setting. Then he switched tactics, started talking about when we were kids, how we shared a room, how I used to look up to him, how we were best friends before I got bitter. I told him I got bitter around the same time he started treating me like an ATM with legs. Trevor said I was exaggerating, said mom and dad never asked me for money. I reminded him about paying for his kids' school supplies because Trevor was between jobs, and covering Jenna's birthday party, and the family vacation I funded because I had no kids, so obviously had extra money. He said those were just family helping family. I said family helping family goes both directions. When did anyone help me? When did anyone show up for my graduation, my promotion, my housewarming that nobody came to? The empty housewarming party just broke something in my chest. Imagine buying your first home, this huge life milestone, throwing a party, and nobody shows up. Not your parents, not your brother, nobody. And then these same people have the nerve to demand you give up that house for someone else? The cognitive dissonance required to even ask that is staggering. They didn't celebrate OP's success, they weren't there for OP's struggles, but they absolutely showed up when they needed something. That's not family. That's a subscription service they never paid for.
Trevor went quiet.
Then said mom and dad told him I never invited them. I told him I had the text messages proving otherwise. 3 years of saving every conversation. That changed his face. He asked why I'd been saving texts for 3. I told him because I knew this day would come. I knew they'd want something big enough that I could finally make them feel disposable. Trevor called me disturbed and drove off. I knew they'd want something big enough that I could finally make them feel disposable. That line devastated. Because OP isn't doing this for the house anymore. The house is just the battlefield. This is about 31 years of being treated like you don't matter, finally getting a response. And Trevor calling OP disturbed? Nah, preparation isn't disturbance. You know what's disturbing? Telling your kid lies about why their sibling doesn't come around so you can maintain your golden child narrative. That's disturbed. Day 7. My dad discovered the licensing issue. Showed up at 6 a.m. pounding on my door. Face red, shaking. Said I'd cost him a $40,000 contract because the client found the address authorization revoked. Said I was destroying everything he built. I asked how it felt to have something he worked for taken without consent. He said, completely different. I asked how. He said he built that business for 30 years. I said I built my savings for 10 years, and they tried to take my house in 30 minutes. He called me vindictive. I called him a hypocrite. He said I was no longer his son. I reminded him he already said that when he changed the sign. I built my savings for 10 years, and they tried to take my house in 30 minutes. Write that down. Frame it. Tattoo it somewhere. That's the whole story in one sentence. Dad wants sympathy for losing a contract? Welcome to the club, old man. OP lost their family's love and respect, and it didn't cost anyone $40,000. It was just free. And you're no longer my son when you already erased them from the sign? You can't fire someone who already quit, Dad. That's not how disowning works. Then Natalie showed up. She didn't yell. Said I was punishing her children for things they had no part in. Said Jenna asked why Uncle hates them. Said Zachary cries every night. I told her I didn't hate her kids. I hated being treated like I only existed when someone needed something. She said I could have handled this differently. I agreed. I could have signed over my house and disappeared. She left crying. My dad followed. Neither looked back. Natalie going for the soft approach is smart strategy, honestly. But even she couldn't answer the core question. You could have handled this differently. Yeah, OP could have also just let them take the house. That was the different option. There was no version where OP says no and the family respects it. The only acceptable outcome for them was OP sacrificing everything. And using the kids' pain as leverage? Those kids are hurting because their parents made choices, not because OP exists. Point the tears in the right direction. Day 8. Storage fees due in 3 weeks. Licensing will take Dad months to fix. Mom hasn't shown her face since the slap, but I got a text from her this morning. One sentence. She's coming tomorrow, and we're going to end this like family. I smiled, because I've got one more thing they don't know about. We're going to end this like family. Ma'am, you told your child you wished you swallowed them, and you haven't apologized once. What family are we ending this like? The Lannisters? And OP smiled reading that text. There's more ammunition. There's always more ammunition with this person. Whatever is coming next, the family is not ready. Final update. Day 9. Mom showed up like she promised, but she didn't come alone. She brought Trevor, Natalie, my dad, and the kids. A full family ambush in my driveway. Mom started talking before I even closed my front door. Said this had gone far enough. Said she was willing to forgive my behavior if I fixed the licensing issue and helped Trevor get his furniture back. Said we could put this behind us and be a family again. I asked if she was also willing to apologize for slapping me and saying she wished I was never born. She said I provoked her. I said that wasn't an apology. I was willing to forgive your behavior. The delusion is clinical. Mom slapped her child, said the most vile thing a mother can say, tried to steal a house, and she's offering to forgive OP? For what? For not being a doormat? For having boundaries? And you provoked her. What provocation? Saying no? Existing? Having something she wanted? That's not provocation. That's called being a person with rights. The audacity to bring the whole family for an intervention when you're the one who committed assault is genuinely unhinged. Then I pulled out my phone and showed them the video. Deborah, the realtor, had a doorbell camera on her car dash. I'd contacted her the day after the slap and asked if she'd recorded anything. She had. 3 minutes of footage, including my mother hitting me and every word she said after. My mom's face went gray. She asked what I was going to do with it. I told her I'd already sent copies to my aunt, my uncle, my grandmother, and every cousin with a working email address. The whole family knew what she did. The whole family heard what she said. Deborah came through. Deborah, the realtor, innocent bystander, traumatized witness. Her dash cam just became the most important supporting character in this entire saga. OP contacted her the next day. While the family thought OP was processing trauma, OP was gathering evidence. And they didn't just keep the video for leverage, they distributed it. Grandma got an email with her daughter's worst moment. Every cousin knows. Every aunt and uncle has seen it. The family image that Mom spent decades building? Gone. And Mom's face going gray? That's the moment she realized this wasn't a negotiation. This was a reckoning. My dad started yelling about airing dirty laundry. I told him he aired dirty laundry when he changed his business sign to erase me. Trevor said I was destroying the family. I said the family was already destroyed. I was just making sure everyone knew who did it. Natalie tried one more time, said I'd made my point, that they understood now, that we could rebuild. I asked her what exactly they understood. She couldn't answer. What exactly do you understand? And once again, silence. They want to skip straight to forgiveness without ever doing the work of acknowledgement. We understand now. You understand what? That you got caught? That there are consequences? That's not understanding, that's just getting busted. Understanding would be, I see how we hurt you for 30 years, and here's specifically what we did wrong. But they can't do that because they still don't think they did anything wrong. They just think they got outplayed. I told them everything that was coming. Storage fees starting next week that Trevor couldn't afford. Dad's licensing taking months to repair with every delayed contract bleeding money. The video circulating through the family so everyone knew the truth. And one more thing. I told my parents I'd been keeping records of every dollar they gave Trevor over the past decade. Every rent payment, every car repair, every grocery run. I'd calculated the total. Just over $90,000 in 10 years. Money that could have helped both sons but went entirely to one. I told them I didn't want their money. I just wanted them to see the number. To understand that their favoritism wasn't a feeling I made up. It was documented, exposed, real. $90,000 in 10 years. That's a house down payment. That's a business starter fund. That's a life-changing amount of money that went one direction while OP ate rice and beans and worked overnight shifts. And OP doesn't even want it back. This isn't about money. It's about acknowledgement. I just wanted them to see the number. Because for years they gaslit OP into thinking they were crazy, jealous, bitter. And now there's a receipt. You can't argue with math. You can't, that was different, a spreadsheet. My mom started crying. My dad grabbed her arm and walked her to the car. Trevor stood there staring at me like he was seeing me for the first time. He asked if I hated him. I told him I didn't hate him. I just didn't owe him anything anymore. They left. All of them. The calls dropped from 180 a day to 0. I don't hate you. I just don't owe you anything. That's not anger. That's freedom. Hate would mean OP still cares, still has emotional investment. This is just release. 31 years of being the backup child, the emergency fund, the invisible sibling, and now the books are balanced. And the calls dropping from 180 to 0 tells you everything. They weren't calling because they loved OP. They were calling because they wanted something. Once they realized they weren't getting it, silence. Instant silence. That's the most damning evidence of all. It's been 9 days since the slap. My house is still mine, my garage is empty, my phone is quiet. They wanted me to just sign and stop being difficult. They wanted me to disappear so Trevor could have what I built. They thought I'd fold because I always had before. I smiled when they left, because I've been waiting 3 years for exactly this. 9 days to dismantle 30 years of mistreatment. 9 days to prove that the quiet one in the corner was paying attention the whole time. And that smile at the end, that's not victory, that's closure. OP didn't do this because they wanted to hurt anyone. They did it because for once, just once, they wanted their family to feel what it's like to be disposable. And now they know.